Well, in my continued quest in order to keep the engine and the RV running at top condition, I had some, the engine was running rough. I joked on one other video, I think, on the trip. It feels like sometimes the 8-cylinder engine's running like a 7-cylinder engine. And so what I did is I've pulled the plugs on the passenger side of the engine here. I've got the 4 ones that were in there. These are AC Delco's R44Ts, and I pulled them out. And this is a new Autolite Platinum plug for comparison. Okay, so what I've done here is, like I said, this is from the front of the engine. This is towards the rear, where the distributor is. So it's cylinder 2, 4, 6, and 8. If you notice, there's something a little different about 2 out of the 4 spark plugs, right? I mean, just to make it too obvious, but then 2, 3, 4. If you notice, there's 2 that are pretty clean here on the stem, the upper part. Then I've got 2 that, I mean, look at, can you see this? The black, this is like black carbon. And it is really substantial around the shaft of this thing. It even goes up, up the stem. And this one here I cleaned off a little bit because of all the dielectric grease. But what I'm finding is probably a mistake to put dielectric grease on the spark plug boot in order to get a better connection, because apparently what this is doing is it's called carbon tracking. So what you're seeing here is I've got 2 spark plugs that are basically, they're carbon tracking, for lack of a better word. And so while these spark plugs themselves look like they're not too bad condition wise, a little bit of tan, these are fairly clean. This one without the carbon tracking is pretty clean. This one again is a little clean, although there's some crud on the threads, which I'm not sure exactly where that came from. But these 2 definitely have a lot of carbon tracking on them, and they appear like they're running a little leaner than the other 2. So what I'm going to do is I bought, an 8-pack. I bought 2 4-packs of Platinums. I'm going to gap them. I've already got them gapped properly. I'm going to install them. I'm also putting in new spark plug wires that are nice and clean and has some heat shields on them. But you can see here, this talks about carbon tracking. And I've got this. I've got a really bad. Some of these are like really just thin lines or what have you. But you can see here from this one. I'm going to try to get onto this one here. So you can see that one shows some pretty excessive, what looks to me like carbon tracking. It also looks like some other compression issues because they're all brown on the upper part of the shafts. So, I'm looking at this going, okay, yeah, this is starting to make a little sense. Like here, this is, there's one with some really bad carbon tracking on it as well. The cracked spark plug was supposed to be serviced at 100,000 miles. Well, I think I cracked one of these actually trying to get them out. I think the whole one was this one here. I could hear it snap a little bit as I was pulling it out. So I'm thinking, they're a couple years old. I thought they'd last longer than this, but probably I did them in a little bit by putting some dielectric grease on the contact, which allowed it to jump and arc. And so really I'm going to make sure that I don't put it on the new plugs and the plug wires, because I can see here that's supposed to be an insulator, right? This is supposed to be an insulator, and if you got dielectric crap all over it, it's going to jump from here to the base and cause carbon arcing. So I'm going to try to avoid that. So you can see here I've got there's some dielectric grease right on here on these, which is spread down the threads and everything. These 2 aren't too bad, but yeah, I'm gonna try this new installation with the plugs, the new wires, which are supposed to come tomorrow, and put all new plugs in. I'm just, you know, for the $3, $2.50, whatever these are a piece, $3. I'm just going to put new plugs in. They're already pre-gapped. I already gapped them all out, and I'll put them in and do the other side and see how she runs. I managed to get the. I took these plugs out just a few minutes ago. Well, a couple minutes ago, based on you watching the video, but it's been probably about an hour. I didn't want to leave the plug holes open tonight because the weather is not too fun out there right now. So we've got, you know, there's snow building up on the car. It's just not pleasant out there at the moment. You know, I'm trying to get some light there, but it's definitely, there's snow starting to build up again. So I'm going to just basically got the other spark plugs in and tighten them up, so that way I know I've got those holes plugged in for tonight, especially with all the snow and the nasty cold and moist weather. So used my little visor cap with the LEDs, which is cool because I was able to see really well and not have to hold anything. So I got that for $1 at Walmart. Got a 6-pack. And yeah, so these are the old plugs. I'm waiting for the plug wires to show up. They're going to show up tomorrow. At least that's what it says on Amazon. And I'm going to swap out the 8mm ones for 10.5mm plug wires. And I'm going to do the 1/2, start her up, see how she sounds, and see if the exhaust changes a little bit, because it's been a little kind of a white smoke out of the passenger side more than the other side. And maybe that was because there's been constant misfires and it's really just been blowing gas out the tailpipe. So let's see what happens. And we're gonna, you know, basically put these little protective sleeves on. These are different than the ones that are down here. These are kind of the old protective sleeves that go around the spark plug wire boot ends. You know, these slip into here, basically. And, you know, these don't really, I mean, they're close, don't get me wrong. They kind of fit right in there. But these are metal, and while it seems like it's kind of an interesting protective piece and it's solid, I'm going to try these on the one side here and see if this works a little better. It's non-conductive, and it's supposed to be very temperature protective. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to slip these on a few of these and see how it works. I've got here the printout of the firing order, as you can see it here. 184-36572. And there is the engine, very pretty, with a fan on the front and distributor on the back. And there she is for real. So what I've got to do here, while the light starts getting a little dimmer, is you can see here there's cylinder number 1 that goes off here. This should be cylinder number 1 going off. I'm hoping I can feel it. Detect where the wire is going here. Because this one's not so easy. It's all the way up front there. You can see it. There's the other cylinder. There's that one there. So this is supposed to be, sorry for the low light. Ouch. That should be cylinder number 1, because that's really the front of the engine. So there's cylinder number 1. And I've got a hold of the cable. Try to push it back through its holder here. I'm going to see if I can get it to wiggle. Yeah, I can see it wiggling there. It's hard to see there, but I got it. So I'm going to trace it up here to number 1. So there's number 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my handy dandy highlighter, or erase stuff, and I'm going to put a little Try to put a mark on it. I don't know if it's going to work or not. This is not going to mark so well. I was hoping this was going to be some sort of great tool to mark cylinder number 1, but it's not going to happen. I need to put a temporary mark on that cylinder. So there's, let me just wrap this one right now, just so I know that's cylinder number 1. So this, based on the diagram that I just messed up and sat on, the one next to it here is cylinder number 2, which is the front cylinder there. So I'm going to pull this one off. Again, I've already loosened up a lot of the couplings. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to take that wire out. I'm going to follow it through to the front. I've already got it loosened off of its bracket and the other bracket. And I'm going to pull this thing all through the front here. It's easier to just pull it up this way than it is to try to get the other end through because of the actual, all the emissions stuff here. So I'm going to do that here. There it is. So there is plug wire number 2, pretty long. There it is with a shield on it. So I'm going to take that shield off. So I like those shields. So there's this one. So that's got some sort of little plastic shield thing on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind up replacing this with one of these guys over here. So I'm hoping to get the longest one I can get over here. Let's see, I don't know if that one was the one I did where it was fairly long, but I've got to sort these out. That does not look that long. So I'm going to take this guy right here, and I'm going to put one of those protective boot covers on it. So that is, I believe this one. These are really super long, by the way. This is a lot longer than these. So I'm trying to find the one that's the longest, and I'm not finding ones that are as long as those. So I'm hoping that I can find one that's at least somewhat comparable. That's not really that close, is it? And you're kind of looking for some super long ones, and there's not a really uber long ones here. So we'll do that one here. That one's about the same length. So, I'm going to wind up, hopefully this thing I can sneak it through here and make it work better. So I'm going to take this one, and I am going to put it over this one, because right now it's like, for me to fit that onto that spark plug down there, it's going to be quite the interesting thing. In order to come over everything, then down and around and under, and be able to get this thing to fit. So there's spark plug number 4 wire right there. And so I'm going to fit this in, see how they work. Alright, so there's been a little in and out of the rig here in order to facilitate the installation of the plug wires, as you can see here. So we've got them situated with the little boots here, and the wires going up top. A couple of them I had to route a little bit over the top, because even the longest wires weren't quite long enough to make it work. So this set was a little short in length, kind of chinched me out of like 3 or 4 inches at least, probably a little bit more on the longest runs, but I did get them onto the distributor, so that's good. I just gonna need to buy bigger wire clamps, because the 10.5 millimeters just barely fit in the old, what I call wire looms, which are those little guides, those little things that help keep the wires in order. So as you can see here, looking down here, so we've got got these 4 installed. These are the older ones here for that side. So we've got 2, 8. Okay, so it's 2, 8. Then we jump to 4 immediately. That's 3, routes around to the other side. This is 6, which comes here. And then the last one, that's how we go here. So we've got 2, 4, 2, 8, 4, and 6. So it's 2, 8, 4, and 6. And 3, 5, 7, and 1. This is 1. Routing off to the other side. So I've got the new wires on this side. I've got the older wires on the other side. And like I said, I'm trying to fit some of these within these little brackets. And they do fit to some degree. Let me see if I can fit that little clamp on. Had it around here somewhere. There it is. Do not know if this is going to fit, but we're going to try it. So we've got these here within the wire loom. I don't know if they're going to actually clamp down or not, but we'll have to see. It looks like it's just a little too big to fit over the clamp. And this clamp looks like I don't have quite the right one for this one. Looks like I need to have one that's a little bit bigger. 3, 4, no. Unless it's all spread out, which is probably what it's doing. So those are too large to fit. I got to get larger ones. Buy them at the auto parts store for the 10.5. But at least most of these they're just kind of sitting within these looms right now. I probably could zip tie them all down, but don't want to spend the time doing that. So I'm going to try starting this up, see how she sounds. Okay. Hopefully it'll work here. Oh, okay, let's try this again. Oh, gee. Okay. Make sure the choke is closed. Boy, something, right? Okay, I'm gonna have to hop up in here. Nice away. The little gas. Took a couple of starts. Idling a little more smoothly. like I got something going on with the rocker arms or something. Anyways.